Andrea Rogers is a wellness entrepreneur, a motivational coach, a best-selling author. She is the creator of the groundbreaking fitness sensation Extend. Her newest book is Small Moves, Big Life: 7 Daily Practices to Hypercharge Your Energy, Productivity, and Happiness. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us a little about your personal life, more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Why I do what I do. It's funny when I hear that why you do what I do. Do you know how many times in my life I say that? I go, this is why I do what I do. So many times in my life I say that, and then I feel such gratitude that this is what I get to call my job, my career. I do what I do because I love empowering and supporting women to feel their best, look their best, and do their best in life. And so that came to be through movement. I grew up as a dancer. I started dancing when I was 3 years old. And then I segued that love of movement into a professional dance career. And then after dancing professionally, George, I was like, oh, I got to get a real job, right? I've got to go to college and like sit behind a desk in order to qualify as an adult. And so I tried that. It lasted 6 weeks. And then I realized I am meant to move in life. I am not meant to sit in life. And so I took my love of movement and decided to become a Pilates instructor. And so I took a year to become a classical Pilates instructor, started teaching, fell in love with the science behind Pilates, the elements of dance that I saw throughout my career come through in the Pilates practice. And then I decided to launch my own program, combining both my backgrounds of dance and Pilates, and I launched Extend, which then became a global franchise. But through that process, I worked with women from all over the world, all walks of life, all ages. And there was a lot of common factors among these women in terms of their goals, their frustrations, their challenges, their desires in life. And I found myself along the way becoming a therapist as well as a Pilates teacher and business owner, and started working with these women and sharing some of the things that I had done throughout my life that had resonated and that had really made an impact in my life. Small things that added up over time that really created change that was sustainable, that was impactful, that was real. And so I started then teaching workshops and then retreats, and it kind of just snowballed from there and became something where I said, okay, I've been doing this for a long time now. Let's put it pen to paper. Let's start to write things down so that I have a tangible version of all this stuff that all these women are saying. This helped them, this changed my life, you know? And I said, oh, this is why I do what I do. And so that then came the book. So that's where we are at the current moment, trying to focus on helping to get this book in as many women's hands as possible.
Well, what an awesome thing. And kudos to you for recognizing that this 9 to 5 corporate desk job or whatever it was is not a good fit. That's one thing, but then actually do something about it is quite another. Do you just think that that's how you're wired? Just you're
Very much so. Yeah, I'm very much so. I've been a doer since I've been a young girl. My mom always said I was just kind of innately motivated. So if things aren't going my way, I'm going to figure out the next way. If the door closes, I'm going to find a window to crawl through. That's just kind of how I've always been wired. And that doesn't mean that I haven't had many doors shut in my face, and the window also was not working. And I had to figure out where the back door was, pivoting a lot of times in my life, or as I call it, push turn, which is a dance term. It's like you push and turn the other way and figure it out. But yes, I've always felt that I was meant to do great things in my life, and I was going to figure out how that would happen. And having that type of disposition has helped me through some of the most challenging times in my life, the unexpected challenges that came my way.
I have to imagine it's such a valuable mindset of, okay, that door's not working, the window, how can I overcome these obstacles? I've never heard push turn, but I love everything about that. I think that that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I'd have to demonstrate for you, George, but essentially it's shifting your weight forward and turning the other direction. So sometimes you got to turn around and see things from a different perspective.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So push turn. I think that that is awesome. So you're getting all this great feedback. You're enjoying professional success. You're enjoying personal success. Everything's going pretty well. You get to do this work.
hmm
How do you then just kind of distill that down? You said you started writing things down because I imagine most of what you do is innate or obvious to you, but then you realize, oh, this is not innate or obvious to everybody.
That is correct. There were so many women that came to me that said, It starts with something simple as I'm trying to lose weight, but I just can't lose the weight. What can I do? Or I'm in this negative headspace, and Andrea, you're very positive. How do you wake up every day with this positive mindset? These little questions that are not very simple, but in actuality, the things that you need to do to shift those things are very simple. They're just repetitive and not necessarily always fun to do. And so I started to just focus on the daily habits that I adopted during some of the most challenging times in my life. And those came out of pure survival. Okay. Those were moments in my life where I felt like I was sinking. My head was bobbing above the water. I was barely holding on to that oxygen. And I had to discover strategies that would help me to move the needle and not fall into a dark spot. And I discovered that it wasn't these big, massive overhauls in my life that happened. It was, okay, do the next right thing today. And what does that look like? And what do I do to make myself feel good today? What do I do to make myself feel like I was productive at the end of the day when I put my head on the pillow at night and I say, atta girl, you did that. That was a good thing. And it didn't need to be some big, massive overhaul. I think a lot of the times, George, people think that they have to scrap everything in their life or they need a whole new life in order to mirror the life of somebody else that they see or to accomplish some things that their admirable friends are doing or, people in their workspace. And it's not that. It really is about stripping it all away and going, okay, what can I do today in this moment to just feel good, something that I feel proud of or I feel accomplished by, and continuously doing that and finding that power of consistency.
Do you think that people, I don't want to say that they reject it or they dismiss it. Maybe they don't pursue that because they don't feel like that's enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You just hit it. It's exactly that. It's like, how is doing 2 to 3 minutes of breathing work every single morning going to help my bank account and change my relationship? How is that going to make me happy? And so it seems so simple or so um, just generic that it's like, oh, that I don't need to do that. But in reality, when you dedicate just a few moments of your morning to intentional breathing, intentionally focusing on your body, your mindset, control of your life, that tiny little thing is so powerful. It is so powerful, and it speaks volumes about the type of human that you are, the type of being that you are, the type of woman that you are, a man that you are, to in order to be able to take that little moment that you'd rather be scrolling on your phone, you'd rather be, mindlessly doing something, and you don't. You instead are intentional with what you're doing with your morning, and that is who you are. And that then translates into the rest of what you do throughout the day. And those things add up. Those small moves add up. And over time, you can transform the way that you attack your day, the way that you perceive your day, the way that you control your mood, the way you control your responses to challenges. And all of that kind of is a compound effect.
Yeah, it strikes me that you are helping people to build the muscle slash ability of how I do one thing is how I do everything.
That,
And the idea
that,
that I would rather be scrolling on my phone. That I think that that's interesting because I don't know that I'd actually rather be doing it. It's just my current conditioning. It's just my
ah,
current pattern.
yes, yes. Yeah, if you're right. If you strip it away, would you rather be mindlessly scrolling or would you rather do something that feels really good that afterwards you're going to not only have more energy and focus for your day, but you're going to be proud that you did? Obviously, everyone's going to say the latter. Like, yes, I want to do that thing, but we don't because we are so conditioned. And it's breaking those conditions and patterns with simple moves that when you zoom out, you're like, oh my God, I'm like a whole new person, but I really didn't change that much in my life.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so powerful. I couldn't agree more with everything that you just said. And to think of 3 minute breathing exercise or journaling or whatever it might be as trite or trivial because it's not going to fix my financial or my relationship trouble is missing the entire point because doing that is everything because you're embracing how it is that you're feeling and you're working to shift that feeling in the very moment. And that's
That's
what it's all
exactly it.
about, I thought, was living in the present.
It is. That's exactly what it's all about. And the more we can live in the present, the more we're aware of what we're doing, the actions that we're taking. And as you just said, getting out of those like repetitive, robotic behaviors that we've all been conditioned to believe are part of our daily life that don't need to be.
Yeah. Conditioning. It's all around
It
us, Andrea.
is. It is. Oh my goodness, it is.
So the book goes through 7 different practices, and you mentioned breathing. What are some of the modalities or ways that you've discovered are helpful?
Yes. So it's owning your morning is a very powerful tool, although all of these can be done at any time of the day. They're not structured to be like, okay, at 6 p.m., this is the, or 6 a.m., this is exactly what you're doing. They're very flexible because life needs flexibility. I'm a single mom. I run an international business. I live out of state away from family. I need flexibility. And so when you see these, you know, self-help or challenges that are like you have to do two 45-minute workouts outside and drink this and do this and you're like that's not sustainable. So everything within my book is real sustainable actions that you can truly do and not feel like you are like again going through that treading water type of thing. So breathing is a very powerful tool, but one of the most powerful tools for me has been movement, and that's how I built my career. But it doesn't have to be an hour-long workout at the gym, a grueling workout that you despise and hate, that you're dreading every minute leading up to it. So in my book, I talk about doing 10-minute workouts. They're mini workouts. They're tiny little movement series that everybody has time for, right? You have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to move your body. Now, I also launched online with my pre-order books. You get access to my moves. So I created a bunch of workouts. I filmed a bunch of 10-minute mini workouts that you can do anytime, anywhere. And they're resonating. It's interesting. So we're 4 weeks, almost 4 weeks into my first challenge that I launched. And these women are like, oh my God, how is 10 minutes so effective? I cannot believe that I'm doing these 10-minute workouts and my legs are changing, my endurance is changing. Like I'm only doing 10 minutes a day. This is mind-boggling. And the reason is because they're being consistent. And when you're consistent every day and you show up and you move your body every day, not only do you get the external output of, you're feeling stronger, you have your endurance increased, you're feeling more focused, you're feeling internally more proud because you did something that you really didn't want to do. And it was kind of a hard thing and you found a million excuses, but you still press play. And when you just press play, then you move your body, you get those happy endorphins going, right? You're starting to feel that energy, you're starting to feel that buzz. And if you do the workouts effectively, and I talk about that in the book. I have a strategy of what workouts work best for every individual. And if you do them effectively and you do them consistently, you end up being that person that moves and exercises every day. And you're like, whoa, I was never that person. Or maybe you were, and you were just showing up at the gym and going through the motions and not actually optimizing your time. So I'm all about effectiveness and taking an efficiency, right? So using those 10 minutes to optimize. It is like you zero in, you focus, you are sharp as a razor, you are attacking every single rep. And by the end of the 10 minutes, you're out of breath, your muscles are quivering, and you're like, what did I just do? Like it was only 10 minutes. So that to me has been a very, very powerful tool. And I would say the foundation of the book. If I'm asked like what is the one thing that you can do, I'm like move your body every single day. But there's strategies in the book that help you to overcome those excuses, that help you to identify what type of mover you are, what type of workouts resonate with you, and then discuss the powerful effectiveness of mindful movement.
So much power there, Andrea. I love it. I think that so often our culture is telling us that we need to become Navy SEALs if we're to
Isn't that the
realize our
truth?
potential.
It's so true. I mean, do you know how many women I work with? I mean, I've been doing this for nearly 20 years now, and they're like, but I go to the gym every single day for an hour and they're doing workouts they hate and they're not optimizing their time. And if you don't like the movement, and listen, not every day are you going to wake up and be like, oh, I love my
Of
workout. I
course.
can't wait to work. No, it's, it requires dedication, right? You're not going to wake up with motivation in the morning. I teach fitness for a living and I do not wake up every morning so excited to get my athletic pants on and work out, but I do because it's a habit now. And I do because I know how I'm going to feel afterwards. And I think about the after effect. And that's the same thing with nutrition, right? It's like, how do you feel after? right? Do you feel great after you've had that really awful meal? You don't, right? You don't feel great. You don't physically feel great. You don't mentally feel great. How do you feel after you've done that workout? You always feel great, right? So there's just these little mind strategies that you can play into that help you to overcome that lack of motivation and get into that power of consistency. And that's where everything changes is in the power of consistency. Breaking down the barriers to entry, making a 10-minute workout accessible, enjoyable, and effective.
I love it. It's true. So certainly for the folks out there who are pursuing membership in the Navy SEALs and they're doing these workouts that are brutal and like, oh my God, I got to do this
Uh-huh.
again. Not sustainable. I think that there are probably a lot of folks out there who do not have that brain body connection. We've sort of started treating our bodies like this is just a sack that I must carry with me places. And so to start moving it and to start enjoying it, I imagine that there's probably a big chunk of people that listening who say, well, that would maybe I should try that.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope individuals understand, and I hope this book motivates people to understand you don't need to be a certain type of person to move your body every day. You don't need to be a certain type of person to implement these strategies every single day. I think we put ourselves into this not just a fixed mindset, but like a fixed life set, right? Where we are, this is who I am, this is what my life is, this is the life I'm gonna have, and it is what it is. I'll never be that person, I'll never be that kind of person. And that's just not true, right? It's just these conditions that we put on ourselves, the ceiling that we've, lowered for ourselves. And in actuality, all you have to do is make some tiny shifts. I have a client that I discuss in the book. Her name is Sarah. She's become a good friend of mine now. I actually just met her for the first time at my retreat that I hosted a couple months ago in Portugal. And Sarah has lost, I think she's at 106 pounds now with me.
Wow.
And she had every excuse in the world not to lose the weight. She had a very severe medical condition, which required her to have multiple eye surgeries, which required her to lie face down for almost 24 hours a day for 6 months. Like there were conditions that anybody would say, oh, I understand why you couldn't lose the weight, or I understand why you gave up. And Sarah decided instead of giving up, she would try to attack one workout every day, one small move every single day. And that was her goal. Her goal wasn't, I'm going to lose 110 pounds. Her goal was, today I'm going to move my body. And the next day was like, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that again. And then slowly she started to feel more energized. And then she said, well, oh gosh, look, I've actually lost 5 pounds. I wonder if I could lose 10. And then it went from 10 to 15 and so forth. And so she broke down those goals. And one thing that she said that really resonated was she said, when I fell off the wagon, because a lot of women are like, what did you do when you didn't get that workout in for the day? Or you ate that terrible meal, or maybe it was a week that you didn't work out. She was like, well, when I fell off the wagon, I didn't set up camp. She's like, I just went back on the wagon. And I was like, that is it. So often in life, when we fall off the track, we sit down, we build a fire, we have s'mores, we sing kumbaya. We're like, we set up camp. We're like, oh, we're over here now. We're no longer, on the course. We're going to stay here and camp it out. And she's like, no, I didn't set up camp. I fell off and I got right back on the wagon. And that is exactly what it's about. And in this book, I teach you strategies on how to adopt that type of mindset to get out of that black or white, yes or no, all or nothing mentality and focus on how you can become somebody that takes on that type of focus where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this next right thing. I'm going to do the next small move and it is going to add up and I'm going to feel good and proud of the actions that I'm taking in my life.
And you think this is available to everybody?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's interesting. My clients range. So I just was talking about my retreat, and I have one client who comes on, and she's 21 years old. And then I have another client who's about to turn 70, all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds, all challenging stories and very emotional stories. And they've all been able to connect and resonate to the strategies in this book and really, really significantly turn their life around. And I share a lot of those stories in the book, which are incredibly inspiring and help us to get out of that excuse mindset and go, okay, if she can do it with these conditions and these challenges and very little support, then damn, I can do it. What's my excuse? And I think sometimes we have to really get honest with ourselves.
Outstanding, Andrea. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can
Thank
people
you.
where can people learn more about you? How can they engage with you? Where can they get their copy of Small Moves, Big Life?
Yes, so smallmovesbiglife.com is where you can access the book and all of the retailers that sell it. You can also, once you order the book, you will send in your receipt to admin@smallmoves.com, smallmovesbiglife.com, and I will send you access to all my workouts. So not only do you get the book, but you also get access to 11 different workouts and stretches. So you'll have a whole little repertoire of free workouts for you to jump into and do every day. So you're that person that now starts to be that mover every single day.
Love it. Well, if
Thank you, George.
well, thank you
I appreciate it.
for sure. If you enjoyed as much as I did, show Andrea your appreciation. Share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to smallmovesbiglife.com, get your copy, and then email the receipt in and get the workouts and the stretches and start becoming a person who moves a little bit every day and starts feeling better and all of the wonderful, virtuous things that will come from that. Thanks again, Andrea.
Thank you, George.
Until next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.